everyone, this is Lee the Appraiser for another segment of Amazing Appraising here in our brand new APR 57 gallery on 57th Street. How's everyone doing today? I hope they're doing well. Today we're going to be talking about watches, in particular Rolex watches, in particular if you have ever considered buying one. We have been bombarded with questions. In fact, every day we have hundreds of people that come in the gallery every day looking to buy new and vintage Rolex watches. Some of them are experienced buyers and collectors. Some of them are not. Some of them never bought a better watch before, let alone a better Rolex. So we're going to talk about the ins and outs of the differences and give some advice, our professional advice of 40 years of experience in buying and appraising watches, and what a new potential buyer or even an experienced buyer might be interested in knowing and helping them form an accurate decision. So we're going to start with what's called the Rolex Men's Oyster Perpetual Date-Just, which is considered by many one of the most popular, simple, basic watches in the world. This watch was probably marketed originally probably in I'd say the mid-50s. At that time, this was the largest Rolex made. Now, this is not a perfect example, although it, from a collector's point of view, it is. It's worn, it has some scratches on it. The crystal has a little crack on it, but for collector's purposes, since this one came with the original paperwork, we decided not to change it in any way, because most collectors like things in their original condition, providing they work properly and aesthetically they still look good. So this is a watch here that was made about 1970. It is their, what we call, again, the first one they made was about 1955. So we're going to talk about basically, let's just go back to what the differences are in the watches between the older models and the newer models. I always like, whenever I compare things for appraising purposes or authenticity purposes, is to use the word pros and cons. What are the pros and the cons of each model? Here it's a little different because, you might have a personal preference. But let's talk first about the different physical characteristics of the watches. So the older watches that this is again from about the 70s. They're all made in stainless steel. They all have the basic same design. They all have the basic, what they call oyster perpetual movement. Okay, so that being said, and they all have the general look is the same too. So what are the specific different characteristics that they have, and then that would help, that's one of the factors that would help you make a decision of whether you prefer an older one or a brand new model. So the older models, first of all, the bracelets tend to be a little thinner, lighter, and a little more flimsy. Some of the older watches, in fact, prior to the 70s, Rolex didn't even manufacture the bracelets. They licensed companies in various countries, in the United States, and maybe South America, to make their bracelets. So the bracelets would say made in USA, as opposed to what's generally known as Swiss made, though most of the newer ones after 1970 say Swiss made. So the bracelet tends to be a little looser, a little thinner. You see the difference in the difference in the thickness between a newer model and one of the older models. Okay, these are both called with the Jubilee bracelets. So the bracelet is one issue. The other issue is the glass, or commonly called the crystal. It used to be made out of acrylic plastic, which would chip and scratch. Now they make it out of a new, what they call synthetic sapphire mineral crystal, which is sharp, clean, easy to read, does not scratch, typically does not scuff. In most cases, very difficult to chip. So they tend to last much longer, and they do cost significantly more. They cost up to $500, just the crystal, as opposed to the plastic crystal, which was typically about $100, $125. Okay, so aesthetically, that's really the difference, would be the crystal and the bracelet. Those are really the only major differences. The case is made a little thicker, not much. The bracelet, of course, is stronger and thicker and will wear better over time and will not be as loose as the older model. But there's not really significant differences. Those are really the differences in the watch, and they do have a little difference in appearance, but that's the story. This older one, so we have the difference in the characteristics. We have the difference in the look a little. This is the older one. Now we have the next generation up. This one is a little later. This is probably, it has the thicker bracelet. This is probably from the early 80s. It's a little newer. This happens to have a beautiful white Roman number dial, which is very rare. You seldom see those. And then we have two, what we're going to call more modern ones. This one here, this is a watch probably from about the year 2000. Again, sapphire crystal, 18 karat white gold bezel, stronger bracelet, etc. And then you of course have here, which is the brand new model that they made that has the new bracelet, the Jubilee bracelet, that goes through the whole bracelet and crown. Okay? Me, from being a collector of antiques and fine antique items, I am always drawn to the original vintage piece, especially since there's very little difference in the way it functions. Okay? That's just me. I would say, if you want a newer model, there's obviously no problem with that. Either of these would be acceptable. The price ranges vary. I would say the suggested retail on all these watches today is about $8,000. This one here with the original paperwork might even bring a little more. Without the paperwork, it would probably bring a little less, as well as this one. These would probably be, so a lot of it's going to have to do with your budget. These would probably run about $6,000, maybe $7 or so, $7,500 for the later model, and then the brand new style with the new bracelet, they typically retail for about $10,000. Not a huge significant difference in price. Depending, if you're on a strict budget, then obviously you would go to a reliable dealer and buy the one that he had for the lowest price possible. So it really depends on what you like as far as look. Functionality, they're pretty much the same. Do you want something that's older, looks a little older? Do you like that style and class that they reflect? Or do you want something either new or brand new, which would run you a little more, and but not significantly more? Okay, so that is what we're talking about here with these videos. You can look them up again, or stay tuned for more on this. We're going to be talking about the Rolex Submariners, the Rolex GMTs in just another couple minutes here. If you have to go, then go, and we'll talk to you later. This is Lee the Appraiser, APR 57. You can call or reach us at 212-246-2000, call or text us, or you can just find us on social media at APR 57 NYC. We will see you later.